And we're on. This is 3 yards per carry. I'm Alfredo Artiaga. We do not have Simon Clancy. We do not have Chris Kaufman. And this time it was a scheduling error by me because I was not going to be available for the record later on. I'm the producer, so I guess I have to be there, right? So we're recording a little earlier, and we're bringing. It's kind of like the end of the season, right, Merrick? When at the end of the season, a lot of the starters are like finding mysterious injuries.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, sounds like it, doesn't it?
we went to the practice squad and we got ourselves Merrick Brave. Merrick Brave's going to be playing a lot in the offseason, by the way, as we do a show called The Offseason, oddly enough. And we will be doing that as soon as this season is over and as soon as our season is over, which is comes Super Bowl time. So, yeah, Merrick Brave comes off the bench. He's done well before. So, we're hoping for the best here.
Yes, happy to get the call up, Alf. Happy to get the call up to the major leagues right here. Always a fun time when you have me on. Thanks for having me today. If I sound a little different or a little gravelly, I'm getting over a cold. It's that time of year in Iowa.
How cold is it there today?
We're going through a bit of a heat wave, so we've reached the lower 40s the last couple days.
Nice.
But don't fret. By Sunday, I think we're back in the low 20s for a high.
Yeah, here this was a very warm very warm Christmas. It was in the low 80s, upper 70s. At night it was getting into the low 70s, So
Wow.
I guess long sleeve weather is what you can call it.
We would
But
be in tank tops, shorts, and flip flops here in Iowa if we were in the upper 70s.
yeah, but I think it was it 4 years ago? Was it 3 years ago? 3 years ago we had a really cold, cold. It was about 42 degrees.
Oh wow.
Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So, it was nice and cool. It felt like Christmas, but not
really
this year.
felt like Christmas. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to ask you a few questions. It's just so much that we could talk about Dolphins, Bucks. You know what I mean? Although we will touch upon it a bit because, the Dolphins are limping here toward the finish line. Some to their own doing. Okay. But the Bucks are as done as you can get for a playoff contender. Like they're pretty much done. Like we could really put them out of their misery if we were capable. I'm not so sure we're any capable any longer. So, but I wanted to ask you this question: do you like? Because I had this poll and we ran it on our Discord. And by the way, if you want to become a member of our Discord, right there under my name, discord.gg/onlyfins, you become a member there, all access for $4.99 a month. Do it on a desktop. Avoid the Apple upcharges. I asked on the Discord, do you like this expanded game date schedule? There's a caveat to that. It's getting even more expanded next season. Because next season, not only are you having your triple header on Thanksgiving, you're having your Black Friday game. But next year, Christmas falls on a Friday. So the schedule for next year is looking like a Christmas Eve Thursday night football game, a triple header on Christmas Day, a double header on Saturday, the Sunday slate, and Monday Night Football. 5 straight days of NFL football. Do you like this, Marek, or is it just too much football?
I don't know if this year is the best year to go off of because we had some, they ended up being decent games on Christmas, but they just didn't. There wasn't any star power. At least half of the starting QBs for these teams were gone. We did see an upset with the Vikings taking out the Lions, regardless of them having 3 total net passing yards. Was that it, Alf?
Yeah, they had 3
That's
passing
absurd.
yards. Even better, they had 74 yards of offense when they completed the 65-yard touchdown to Addison on the return. So,
Yeah, I bet on the Lions, so of course that was going to happen. That's how it always works, right? But this year not so much. This year I could have done without the Christmas football for the most part. But most years I'm down. Like more football, I'm cool with it. I'm doing some traveling this upcoming weekend to visit the in-laws, but other than that, if I could sit in front of my TV and watch football 7 days a week, I would. If there was a way we could make that logistically possible, I would do that. So more football, that's good with me.
We do know that in college they've always had the New Year's Day Bowl slate, right? But this year, since it's the quarterfinals, for some reason they're making the Miami Hurricanes play the Ohio State Buckeyes on a Wednesday night on the 31st, which makes absolute no sense to me. Why not have the quarterfinal slate on the first? Like that makes no sense to me. Like we're now getting the way that they're doing these schedules. I don't understand. Now this NFL thing, we did this poll and it came out pretty close. It was like 52% in favor, and we got a large block of people voting on it. So people are in favor of all of these dates that they're going to play football on. And
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's weird. Why wouldn't you have them play on New Year's Day? Everybody's going to be out partying on New Year's Eve. Everybody's going to be getting drunk, which means they're going to be hungover on New
Mm,
Year's Day, which means they're going to be laying in bed, flipping the channels and turning on that football game. So
mm.
I'm with you on that one, Alf. I would have put that one on that Thursday, the first.
Yeah, but this is now a new thing. I don't know. Did you watch the slate yesterday? So you watched it on Netflix. What did you think?
Sure
Your
did.
boy Seth Rollins was on there, by the way.
Yeah, honestly, Alf, I think that's why you had me on, because you're trying to one up Netflix, right? They may have gotten Seth freaking Rollins, but you got Merrick freaking Brave right here. So his partner in crime, and you're my partner in crime now too, Alf. So I thought Seth was great on the broadcast. I think he's a
Mm.
natural with it. He is a ball knower. He loves football. We're kind of last of a dying breed. A lot of wrestlers coming up nowadays, they want to watch anime and talk to
Play
you about
video
that type of
games.
stuff. Yeah. They want to talk to you about Fortnite and things like that. And we just like sports. We've always liked sports. We always talk sports. But yeah, big Bears fan. So I think there was a little bit of you know a little bit of I don't know what the word I'm looking for here. Like I said, I'm a little sick, but giving the tomahawk chops to the Vikings players, probably he would have felt a little better about doing that with some Bears players. But that
Mhm.
steak looked pretty good though. I'd much rather eat that than a turkey leg on Thanksgiving. But
Yeah.
as far as the games go, I thought uh, Cowboys Commanders was fun enough. I thought the second game, 5 turnovers by the Lions, that was frustrating as somebody who bet on the Lions. But I mean, if you're rooting for the underdog, that was a good game to watch with the Vikings pulling that one out, and then Broncos Chiefs, like whatever, man. That I don't know. How do you feel about the Broncos, Alf? Are they for real, or are they going to get spanked in the playoffs if they
This is
make
the
it?
most confusing playoff in the AFC that I've ever
Yeah.
seen. In the NFC, I think I've boiled it down to, and this is odd. You know, the 49ers are kind of in the driver's seat. They control their own destiny to
If they
get.
can stay healthy.
Yeah, they have to beat Seattle, of course. That they got to win out, but it's right in front of them. The 49ers somehow, after all this time, all they have to do is win out. It's just 2 games, right? And you have, what do they have? They have 10 wins, right? So yeah, they win out. They win that division, which is odd. But what I got is, look, there's going to be 3 teams in the playoffs from the NFC West. I think the Super Bowl champion is coming from that division. And it's not going to be the 49ers. I don't think they're going to do it. Even with Brock Purdy, they've had so many injuries on the defensive side of the ball that I think eventually it's going to come back and bite them in the playoffs. I don't think that they play very well against the Rams. So I still like the Rams, even though they're no longer in the driver's seat. It looks like Seattle's in the driver's seat to get that 1 seed and the division. But I kind of still like the Rams. Like the Rams travel. Like there's nothing wrong with the Rams going forward. And
Yeah, veteran quarterback, still at the top of his game, Matthew Stafford. You got 2 elite wide receivers. Got to get Devontae Adams hamstring healthy, but Puka Nakua, Devontae Adams. They got a tandem at running back with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum that is dangerous as well. And then of course this defense is playing top notch football as well. The Rams look legit. A few weeks ago, I took a look at that team and I thought same thing. I think this is the eventual representative of the NFC in the Super Bowl, and most likely the Super Bowl favorites once they get there. But Rams look like a pretty dominant force this year.
yeah, now back to the Dolphins. They gave out the Pro Bowl awards and Devon Achane. That's it. So
That's it.
yeah, if they had like a reception for the Dolphin Pro Bowlers, it would just be that meme of John Travolta in an empty room with, it'd be just Devon Achane looking around like, where is everybody, right?
Yeah.
Personally, look, I don't give a crap about the Pro Bowl, but they do, and agents do, and the NFLPA does because people get paid over it. Like, this is a travesty.
Yeah.
How is Aaron Brewer not in the Pro Bowl? How is Jordan Brooks not in the Pro Bowl? They should have had 3 Pro Bowlers, which is an indictment of Mike McDaniel that you're going to have 3 Pro Bowlers and actually 3 guys that deserve all pro designation, and you're a bad team. You have 6 wins.
Yeah, and people say, "Oh, well, it's the Dolphins didn't win enough. Ravens aren't winning. What they have 7 Pro Bowlers, somewhere around there."
Yeah.
Like, I think the Dolphins just historically, unfortunately, and we know it better than anybody, historically, the Dolphins have fallen off, and people love to make the Dolphins the laughing stock of the NFL. They like to make the Dolphins the butt of many jokes around the league. And for Jordan Brooks not to be a Pro Bowler is like that's a literal crime. He leads the league in tackles. And the 2 guys who were selected ahead of him, Shair of Houston and Roquan Smith of Baltimore, he has better numbers than both of them across the board. Jordan Brooks has more sacks than those guys, 3.5 sacks. Jordan Brooks has a forced fumble. Jordan Brooks has 169 tackles, leading the league in that category. And not just because he's played on a bad defense and he's tackling guys 10 yards downfield, yada, yada, yada. Maybe that was true earlier in the year. But Jordan Brooks is a phenomenal linebacker, should absolutely be in the Pro Bowl. He is an alternate. At the very least, Jordan Brooks is an alternate, first alternate. Aaron Brewer didn't get that same designation. He's not an alternate at all. Not a first, not a second, not a third alternate into the Pro Bowl. So it would take a whole lot of people dropping out for Brewer to get his name called for that. But like you said, at the end of the day, does it matter? Not necessarily, but it does come contract time when these guys are trying to earn the money, which is really what truly matters in this league and in life. So you feel bad for Brewer. You feel bad for Brooks, especially. Congrats, Achane. He deserved it. He absolutely deserved it. He's been pretty much the entire offense for the Miami Dolphins this season.
Yeah, he's made himself completely undeniable. My issue with the Pro Bowl snub is, what does it say about the franchise and for free agents going forward?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be a
Right.
pretty good story to tell if Jordan Brooks and Aaron Brewer, 2 guys that we signed as free agents, made the Pro Bowl. And then you can point to other free agents like, hey, maybe you don't need 11 million a year. Maybe you want to take 8 and we'll get you to the Pro Bowl here and get you paid if that's your mission in the NFL. But no, that's not happening. And I think it's just wrong. And by the way, the guys that they picked at linebacker, Al-Shaair, you know why he's there. He's there because he's the middle linebacker and the captain of the best defense in football. So they're going to say, he gets the guy standing next to the guy designation. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Hey, Alf, you mentioned this. You mentioned that this comes back to roost come contract negotiation time. It's that time for Achane. It's that time for Devon Achane, and he even mentioned that he's going to talk to his representative and have them talk to the Dolphins. Put your GM hat on, Alf. What's a good deal for Achane, and do you offer it if you are the Miami Dolphins, knowing that you're in a position to essentially rebuild once again?
Yeah, the answer is yes, and I think that the answer is probably 4 years, 60 million, and half of it guaranteed, at least, something like that. He's obviously going to want to have it creep toward 20 per season, so we shall see. But there's going to be other things that they're going to have to tackle this offseason before they tackle Devon Achane's deal, namely now a quarterback. Like, they're going to have to get that sorted out somehow, right? And how they sort that out as far as that quarterback, it looks like everybody's writing those think pieces right now because Tua's no more. So since Tua is not in the cards, a trade or the draft has to be in the cards. And since picking 10th, there's really no prospect right now, at least not this year, for the Dolphins to draft, everybody's just moving on over to a trade. Now, look, a trade for Fernando Mendoza at number 1 overall, I don't think is realistic. Historically speaking, Miami doesn't have the assets, and especially since there's teams right after number 1 that need a quarterback, and they're, for example, Raiders are right there at number 2.
Yeah.
So whatever the Raiders bid, you have to almost double it.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, let's say the Raiders say, look, we're moving up 1 spot. You get our first, and you get a second-round pick this year. Now the Giants are looking at you and saying, what is the second overall pick worth to you? And a second-round pick that is essentially a first-round pick. What is that worth to you now? And now you're getting bid up to 3 and 4 first-round picks. So I think it's essentially impossible for Miami to trade up for Fernando Mendoza. So
yeah, and I'm sure you saw the PFF proposed trade. I think that was released on Monday. That had the Dolphins moving from 10 to number 1, with the Giants offering the number 10 overall this year. I think they offered the number 44 overall second round pick this year, and then a first and second round pick in 2027 as well. And in this hypothetical trade by this writer, that got the deal done. So 2 firsts and 2 seconds got the Dolphins all the way up to number 1. So they could select Fernando Mendoza. But also this week, Alf, people have been talking about a potential trade for Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson 2 years ago, I think he got robbed of that MVP, and I think you feel the same way on that one. He already is a multi-time MVP winner already, even without that one. This year, down year, no doubt about it. He's been banged up. He's had every lower body injury under the sun. Now he's dealing with a back contusion that'll see him probably miss this weekend's game. Given the 2 choices, Alf, would you trade 2 firsts and 2 seconds to draft Fernando Mendoza? Not a sure thing, right? That's your lottery ticket, maybe better odds than some players, but still a rookie. It's never guaranteed to work out. Or would you trade whatever you think it's going to take to get Lamar Jackson away from the Ravens, and then you have to pay him that salary with money that the Dolphins don't currently have? Which would you do, Alf?
I think I would do Lamar Jackson because I think he's a sure thing, and you'll be gaining a 5-year window. And I understand, and they're out there. Okay, people doing shows saying, "Oh, he's losing his athleticism, and once he loses his athleticism, he's gone, and he's not going to be any good anymore." That's not true. Lamar Jackson is an elite passer. He is an elite passer now from the pocket. What he gives you with his legs is just a bonus. Okay. So I would trust you're going to give him an extension. Obviously, if you make a trade for Lamar Jackson, you trade a lot of assets. You're going to give him an extension. Once you give him an extension, you're going to want him working out and working on his body so he can stay healthy. That's the concern with Lamar Jackson. But yeah, I would lean toward the elite player. You have to be insane. And it's been proven time and time again throughout football history. You pass up the chance to add an elite quarterback, you will regret it. Look at all the runners up in all of these sweepstakes, okay? Including some of the ones that had a chance at Lamar Jackson, like the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, what did they do in lieu of getting into the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes, of which they just completely sat out? And in fact, the entire league just sat out in essence with what was collusion. How did they settle? Well, they got into the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes by offering a bunch of first-round picks. Didn't complete that deal, and then decided to take Michael Penix Jr. in the first round. How has that worked out? After paying Kirk Cousins. So every alternative that they made to actually competing for Lamar Jackson in the open market has not worked out for the Atlanta Falcons. If you're Miami and you have the opportunity to trade for Lamar Jackson, and he wants to be here, evidently. He's from down here, so stands to reason he would, right? Yeah. If you start settling, everything you might settle for, you might look back on 4 or 5 years from now and saying, man, none of those things worked. And the reason that they didn't work is because usually they don't work. It's as simple as that. You know? Anyway, We're gonna go to break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk Dolphins, Bucks. But first, taking care of your mental health shouldn't be harder than taking care of your physical health. But when it comes to finding the right therapist, suddenly it's frustrating. You've got long waits or you're staring down huge out-of-pocket costs. That's what usually stops people from getting help. That's where Rula comes in. Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They work with most insurance plans. This is key. And the average session copay is just $15. That's $15. Rula connects you to over 15,000 licensed therapists and psychiatrists nationwide. They cut out the guesswork by matching you with someone based on your needs, preferences, and state requirements, so you're not wasting time with the wrong fit. Every therapist on Rula's platform is licensed, vetted, and chosen for their expertise. You're either talking to a legit professional who knows how to get things done. Thousands of guys have already used Rula to finally get the care they needed. Don't keep putting it off. Go to Rula.com, 3 yards. That's Rula.com/3 yards. That's RULA.com/3 yards, the number 3 yards. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health. And we are back. Dolphins, Bucks. Not too long ago, we were thinking, man, this is a juggernaut that's going to be coming into Hard Rock Stadium, and the Dolphins have no chance. Now you got Baker Mayfield, who has played awful for almost, 9 weeks in a row now? Like, he has to be injured because there's no way that he's going to be playing this poorly for this long. Remember when he was an MVP candidate way back in September?
Yeah.
That's gone. He's going to have most of his offense with him in this game. Bucky Irvin, Mike Evans. He's not going to have his left tackle in Tristan Wirfs. I talked about this last week. What is your take on what took place last week? What took place last week, was it as simple as the team quitting? They don't have their starting quarterback. And as soon as they get a little bit of adversity, sure enough, that offensive pass interference call, that was a bad call. They take that call. As soon as you get adversity, it's your first opportunity to quit. Is that what you saw? Because that's what I saw.
Yeah. And, Mike McDaniel can say whatever he wants about this, but when he came out and he said Quinn Ewers gives the team the best chance to win and thought we were all just going to sit here and buy that. Like, listen, did Quinn Ewers have the worst first start of a rookie quarterback ever? No, absolutely not. He was serviceable in that first half. He had over 100 pass rating. I think it was 104.5 throughout the first half, just a little over 100 passing yards. If you lean on the running game and play good defense, you can win with a guy like that. But to say that Quinn Ewers gives you the best chance to win over an established starter like Tua Tagovailoa, even a guy who's having a major down year, like, none of us are going to argue that point. Tua in 2025 is not Tua of 2022 or 2023. He's just not. But he's still better than a 7th round rookie quarterback making his first start in the NFL. Now, you got to remember, Ewers, no touchdowns, 2 turnovers, 2 interceptions, against the 32nd ranked defense in the National Football League, as in the worst defense. It doesn't get worse. There is no 33. It stops at 32. It's the Bengals and then nobody else. The worst defense in the league, and he couldn't even throw a single touchdown pass. You know what I mean? Listen, if you're out of playoff contention, you want to start the rookie, you want to see what you got there. Maybe he can be a backup for you moving forward, so you're not paying $6 million for your backup, which you did this year, and then didn't even give him a chance to play when you did move on from Tagovailoa, which is another conversation entirely. But don't tell us that Ewers gives you the best chance to win, because it doesn't. Tua Tagovailoa gives you the best chance to win. And so if we're seeing that as fans and people who commentate on the team, then the players are seeing that too, because the players are there every day. The players are there in practice. The players are there on the sidelines. The players are there in the meetings. They know that that's bullshit. They just know that Mike McDaniel is spewing bullshit. And so, yeah, maybe they come out there and they play hard until they get punched in the mouth. But like Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And after they got punched in the mouth, and I really do think a lot of it came down to that offensive pass interference that wasn't an offensive pass interference on Theo Weiss, that kind of changed a a large gain into a big offensive pass interference penalty. I think it was the difference of 40, 50 yards of field position. I think once that happened, the team went, yeah, okay, what are we really doing out here? What do we care? It's about to be Christmas. I'm not trying to get hurt. I'm not trying to get injured. I want to go home and watch my kids open up their Christmas presents. So yeah, I do think the team quit. And frankly, I don't really blame them. You know what I mean? At that point, it's like, man, what a roller coaster ride of a season this has been. And now Mike McDaniel's really just grasping at straws. He's trying to do anything and everything he can to save his job. And I listened to the main show, Alf. I really liked your theory of Mike McDaniel doing this so he can cook in another excuse. Like, well, of course we lost those last 3 games. We were starting Quinn Ewers. How could we win? Then the dumbass came out and said he did it because he thought it was the best chance to win. Well, now you just gave away your own excuse. So didn't like what I saw from most of the team that game. It certainly hated what I saw from the coaching staff. And the third quarter, or as we have affectionately, or maybe not so affectionately, named it, the turd quarter, reared its ugly head once again. And here we are. We're in the same spot we've been all season, outside of a shocking win against the Bills, and I'll give them that. That was fun. That was really fun. But then some more wins against lesser teams, and then you face the good teams and the Steelers, and a great offense in the Bengals with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Chase Brown, and you got exposed once again. You got exposed. And so I don't know. For me, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Off. For me, I'm done with the Mike McDaniel experience. And there's some rumored names to be had at the head coaching spot. If John Harbaugh gets let go in Baltimore, I'm interested in that. If Kevin Stefanski gets let go in Cleveland, I'm interested in that as well. And you could probably talk me into a couple guys who might be retired right now too. But I don't see it with Mike McDaniel. I just don't see it. I wanted to see it. I really, really did. I wanted to give him the long rope, but it's been 4 years, and the last 2 years have been far worse than the first 2 years. And he just has shown time and time again that he doesn't adapt in the short term, which is why we have those poor results in the third quarter. And he hasn't adapted in the long term, which is why the last 2 years have been so miserable compared to the first 2.
Yeah, and it's about what are you really missing, right? Like, what's like you fire him tomorrow. Like, what are you missing? You're missing his designs. Well, all his designs still exist. Like they're on tape. Like they belong to you if you want to. Like, no, there is no such thing. It'd be awesome if there was, right? Like a coach just sues another franchise. Like, hey, you're using all my plays.
That's great.
Copyright laws. Those plays belong to me. Like if that were a thing, I would understand it, right? Like, hey, you don't want to lose this playbook. Like this is property of the Miami Dolphins. You want to keep this? No, everybody steals from each other. So, like, what are you missing if you let go of Mike McDaniel? It's just about fear, right? Like the fear is he's the next great one, and we're just letting him go on a down year, on a year where we had cap trouble, and you can almost write every single excuse, right? Yeah. My issue has been this team has never done anything extraordinary, and it's they keep having the opportunities placed in front of them, and they don't complete them. Like they have opportunities. They had an opportunity to beat Pittsburgh and erase a ton of narratives, and really get you feeling really, really good about the team down the stretch, and make it almost a no-brainer that you had to bring back Mike McDaniel. But no, they failed miserably in that game after playing really well for the first half. They have that third quarter. That's the thing. New things keep showing up. Now we have a third quarter. Like we didn't have that before.
No.
They used to be a Miami Heat phenomenon. Like they used to be something that used to happen to the Miami Heat for ages, even when they were really, really good. When they were really, really good, when they had the Big Three era, they would have 20-point leads, and in the third quarter, teams would cut into it by 15, and you'd go to the fourth with only a 5-point lead. Like that used to happen all the time. But now it's a Dolphin phenomenon too. Like new things keep showing up. Like at some point you got to ask yourself, like, what are we really missing, man? If we just get rid of him, like what are we missing? So anyway, I think we've said our piece enough on Mike McDaniel. Like if he comes back, he gets another redemption year, right? And he could prove us wrong because next year is kind of a run it back season. Now, can they be better next year than they are this year? Oh, of course. Because if you run it back, that's another thing. You got to run it back, meaning the good players that they found, you got to somehow retain them without breaking the bank. Okay, so maybe a Rasul Douglas, maybe a Jack Jones. Darren Waller has to be back because he's kind of becoming an essential piece now. So, yeah, you're going to have to run it back and add a good draft class. And yeah, you could reasonably be, you could be better. You might even be a playoff team. As far as winning anything, no, that's not happening. But yeah, you could be better. The issue is, how do you supplement the roster going forward? And what some people are thinking is like, look, it's kind of a down year. It's a reset year being set up in 2026. Why not have Mike McDaniel fall on that grenade? Right? Because you kind of don't like the coaching pool this year. So why not have him fall on the grenade for 2026? I'm agnostic on the whole thing. If there's somebody out there that's better, I know who I would have wanted. I would have wanted Lane Kiffin. By the way, did you see the video of Lane Kiffin taking home the basket because they were going to charge him for a paper bag to put his groceries in? He says, "Well, I'm taking the basket then."
I did not see that, but that's amazing. I hope that's real.
Yeah, well, it's real. There's video of it, and that's a man that signed a 7-year, $91 million contract, and he didn't want to pay for the grocery bags, which is
principle, Alf.
Which is understandable, by the way.
Yeah, come on now.
If I spent a bunch of money in your store and groceries, now you're going to charge me for the bag too?
Give me the bags, damn it.
Like, come on. But yeah, that's where we're at with Mike McDaniel. And I guess he gets another redemption Sunday. Now we're back to, but if he wins out, it's 8-9, which means that, he ran back last season's team with an inferior roster. And you're like, oh my God, just let it end and let this offseason get on with it. We need a general manager above all.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need a general manager above all. What are you looking for in this game? Because what I'm looking for is I want to see progress with Quinn Ewers. Yeah. I want to see some evidence that he could be part of the solution for next season. Because if he is, man, you got a quarterback at the bare minimum to play for a season. And who knows, maybe he becomes something. And then you're really cooking, because if you have a quarterback at Brock Purdy prices, and no longer Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy, cashed in those prices a year ago as he himself got himself a $50 million deal, a $50 million per year deal. But yeah, I want to see progress with Quinn Ewers above all else. And pretty much that's all I want to see. And I want to see some evidence that Chop Robinson is not headed toward bust territory, because as of right now, he just is. And he was awful against the Bengals, by the way.
Yeah, and that's a bummer. That really is a bummer. He had a promising back half of his rookie year, and this year has not played to the standard that maybe we set for him. You do wonder. Anthony Weaver's defense. He started off this year, it was horrific. And then he found his way in the middle, but we talked about it. He kind of played against some subpar teams in the middle, right? Is that just another Mike McDaniel in disguise? Does he get it done against bad teams and then fold when the pressure's on, when you're in these big time situations? I don't know. Maybe again, another conversation for another day. But I said, as far as Quinn Ewers, best case scenario, Quinn Ewers goes out there and lights it up. And we go, holy shit, what a revelation here. Somebody who slipped through the cracks, right? And if you can, like you said, if you can get your starting quarterback playing good football for 7th round rookie quarterback prices for the next 3 years on top of this year, you're set up to actually maybe do something, because you're going to be in cap hell when you move on from Tagovailoa. You got to move on from Tyreek Hill. Are they moving on from Bradley Chubb? That's certainly a possibility. Minkah Fitzpatrick, do they bring him back? Do they move on from him, try to trade him for a decent draft pick? We don't know. We're kind of in that limbo right now. But if you can get the quarterback figured out now and he plays lights out over these next couple games, and that's to say, is 2 games enough to say you've got your quarterback situation figured out? Maybe it's enough to jettison Tua, roll with Ewers, and then bring in a veteran backup like a Jameis Winston or a Mac Jones. Maybe you do that, and then all of a sudden, you have your room for next year. And then I said, second best scenario is that Quinn Ewers is absolutely god awful, and then we know, okay, no, we're done. Blow it all up. The whole room is done. Tua's gone. Zach Wilson's gone. He was on a 1-year deal anyway, and Ewers is not the guy. Then going forward, we got nobody. We got a lot of work to do there in the quarterback room, in addition to the other spots on the roster that need a lot of work as well. So, a couple years ago, it really looked like the Dolphins were in the driver's seat to get out of the doldrums of NFL mediocrity, and it just didn't happen. Didn't happen for us, and we're in a familiar spot that we've been in many, many times over the last 2.5 decades since Dan Marino retired. And honestly, even the last 5 years of Marino's career weren't that special, but at least we were making the playoffs most of those years when they weren't special. Missed those days. But, here we are again. It sucks, but we're Dolphins fans. We're used to it. We're built tough. I feel like the Costco guys, right? Like, we're Dolphins fans. Of course we know what 8 and 9 feels like, or
It's
whatever.
what makes us what we are.
Exactly, So we'll see what happens, but I mean, I'm not going out on a limb here. I don't think Sunday's result is going to be a positive one for our Dolphins, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that, and this is a question I'm gonna ask you when we kick off our series of the offseason shows right after the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna assume that this is the last time I'm gonna have you on until the season is done with, meaning the Super Bowl is gone. What was your most shocking revelation of the 2025 season? Because I'll give you mine. My most shocking revelation of the 2025 season was that in training camp, I could have swore to you this team has a pretty good situation at edge. You have a vet in Bradley Chubb that you can count on to give you, if he's going to give you anything but, anything else, he's going to give you good pass rush, and he could be a situational pass rusher. He'll be here for a year to mentor the young guys, right? You have Matthew Judon, who's been a long-time performer on this team for a very long time. Jalen Phillips, a guy who's shown all the potential in the world. And Chop Robinson, a guy who had a very good second half of his rookie season. And in fact, a pretty damn good rookie season overall, right? As it stands, they traded Jalen Phillips for a third-round pick. Bradley Chubb is going to get cut. Like, spoiler alert. They're not paying that man $30 million next season. Okay? So he's going to get cut. Matthew Judon has already been waived. And he's on the Buffalo Bills, which kind of tells me, yeah, the Buffalo Bills are not winning anything this year. when they're looking at our discards and saying, yep, that's the guy that's going to do it for us. And Chop Robinson is having an awful season. So my biggest revelation of the 2025 season is that they need to remake the entire edge room. And that might take a hefty cachet of draft assets, meaning you're probably going to have to use a first-round pick. You're probably going to have to use another day 2 pick, okay? And they have 5. So you're already talking about committing 2 of the 5 top 100 picks to help fix that edge room. So that's my worst revelation of the 2025 season. What was yours?
I mean, I got to go chalk here. I think it was the regression of Tua Tagovailoa. I didn't see it happening this soon, and I didn't see the fall off being as dramatic as it has been. I mean, we're talking about a player who has led the league in passing yards, has led the league in completion percentage, has led the league in passer rating, and now all he leads the league in is interceptions. And you'd love to be able to say it was the Tyreek Hill injury that did it, but I just don't think it was. I think there was something that went down this past offseason, regarding the team's philosophy with Tua Tagovailoa, whether they were really hammering it home, and whether they were doing it directly or indirectly. I think Tua got the point that, hey man, I got to protect myself beyond normal everyday quarterback stuff. His mobility is probably the worst. My son actually asked me, he said, Dad, do you think Tua is the least mobile quarterback in the NFL? And I said, maybe outside of Phillip Rivers. Yeah. Like, ever since the Colts brought back 44-year-old literal grandpa Phillip Rivers, he may be the only quarterback in the NFL with a worse ability to make something happen with his legs than Tua Tagovailoa. And it's just sad. It really is. It's just sad to see a guy who was such a stud in college and such a highly touted rookie quarterback coming into the league. We all thought he was going to be the savior of this franchise. And I'm a huge Tua Tagovailoa fan. I still am. I'm going to root for him wherever he goes. I thought he was it. I thought he was going to be the guy. I thought he was going to be the quarterback that finally brought the Dolphins back into the spotlight as one of the best teams in the National Football League. And you went through all the shit that he went through with Brian Flores, and you came out on the other side with Mike McDaniel coming in and building an offense to highlight his skill set. And he was great. For 2 years, he was fantastic. And there was a little bit of a drop-off last year. There were some injuries that you could point to explain that. But this year, it's been night and day from a couple years ago. And Tua Tagovailoa is a mere shell of what he used to be. And, thankfully for him, he got his payday. Doesn't help us as Dolphins fans at all. So, good for you, Tua. Good for your family. Wish you the best moving forward. But here we are as Dolphins fans in a familiar position, wondering when we're going to find our way out of the NFL's basement and back into the prominent position as one of the greatest franchises in the league's history, which we haven't been for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I would have said Tua as well, and that is the chalk answer. But I did expect his regression, and I've said so many times that you were going to have to replace him after 2026 eventually, because I expected his drop-off to be physical. I expected it to be something where you just could not, you could not bear another season of having to chalk up four games missed every single year. Like, you almost had to write it into the schedule, like, okay, he's going to miss 4 games. And I was saying you can't do that anymore. But I think the regression this year was mental, and that's worse. Like, you can't point to an injury here. This is just regression of talent. Like, he is not the same guy that he was 2 years ago. And you could give any kind of reasons you want for that. There's a bunch, and I'm pretty sure everybody has their theories. But all right, we're coming to the end of the show here, and we will pick this game. But we're not going to do what the Dolphins have to do to get the win here on Sunday. So what we're going to do is something different. We're going to pick out 3 things. What are 3 things that you want to see? I assume that both of us are going to say the same thing for number 1. So I'll go first. Number 1, I want to see Quinn Ewers play on schedule. I don't need him to go 32 of 40 for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns. Although that would be nice, right? But that's not what I want from him. I want to see 22 of 29 for 210, a touchdown and no picks. That's what I want to see. I want to see a quarterback play on schedule. That's number 1. Number 2, I want to see Chop Robinson show up. Look, no Tristan Wirfs. They're going to play a backup left tackle. I think it's time that you abuse a left tackle. Make yourself a factor in this game going forward. Number 3, and this is the third thing I want to see, Jack Jones, Rasul Douglas. This is an audition to see, are we going to extend another contract for next season to bring you back and have it be less work that the new general manager has to do? You're going up against Ibuka, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, I think, is even healthy for this one. So, he's going to bless us with his presence. So that's another guy who's always injured. So this is going to be the best wide receiver core you have faced to date, in my opinion. So I want to see them play well. I want to see Jack Jones play well. I want to see Russell Douglas play well. I want to see the faith restored that, yeah, you could bring back one of them, if not even both of them, for next season. And that gives you less to do in this offseason because good God knows that they're going to have a massive to-do list come March. All right, Marek, what are the 3 things you want to see? I assume that number 1 is going to be the same.
Yep, you nailed it. You nailed it there, Alf. I want to see some progress. I want to see some consistency from Ewers. I want to see that at the very least, like we mentioned earlier, at the very least, Ewers is somebody that you can count on as a quality backup in this league, and you don't have to spend big bucks on him moving forward. So that's my number 1. My number 2, I want to see a Dolphins defense play well, and not just play well, but play, hey, Mike McDaniel, one of his favorite words, play with conviction all game long, right? The last couple weeks, they've played well in the first half. They've come out, they've tackled well, they've laid the wood on the opponent. They've had some big hits, got me a little fired up. You know, I used to play defense in my high school days, so I love a good defensive football game. And these guys were hitting opponents and making them feel their presence, you know, and then in the second half, it all kind of fell off. So I want to see a defense play a complete game because Anthony Weaver is on the hot seat, so to speak, right? As much as Mike McDaniel, right? He's auditioning for a spot not only with the Miami Dolphins, but if he moves on and becomes a head coach somewhere else in the National Football League, that benefits Miami as well because they'll get 2 third-round compensatory selections for another team hiring Anthony Weaver. So, I mean, that could benefit the Dolphins in multiple ways, whether he stays or if he goes. And then number 3, that third quarter. It has to not happen this time. You're at home, okay? You're at home. You're playing at home. Come out, use the home field advantage to your advantage, and continue what you've done in the first half. Show us that you're not going to crumble at halftime. Show us, Mike McDaniel, please show us that you can make some halftime adjustments and that you can figure out what an opposing defense is trying to do to your offense, make some adjustments, and lead your team in the second half to a complete game and get us a win. Because, listen, at this point, I don't think the Dolphins can get much higher than pick number 10 in the NFL draft, right? But they can't really drop much lower than pick 13 or so. And those 3 picks, those 3 slots are negligible in my mind. You know, maybe draft experts will have something else to say about that. But I don't care. I don't want to lose these next 2 games. I want to win. There's a big difference between going into the offseason on a 2-game winning streak and feeling good about your team and your chances and your hopes come next September than there is going into the offseason on a 4-game losing streak with your once franchise quarterback out the door, and you're searching for a new head coach while still searching for a new GM. So I want something to be happy about. I want something to feel good about heading into the offseason. It's a long offseason for the Miami Dolphins, and there's a lot of uncertainty around this team at the moment. So it'd be nice to just at least have a little hope moving forward.
All right, it's time to pick the game. Look, we could go one way or the other, right? Like they could either completely quit or, you know, they'll have a great performance and Tampa Bay's season, which has been a disaster for the most part, will just have its final footnote of this season and probably get everybody fired. And I'm pretty sure that the next coach and the next general manager there, although I don't think Jason Licht's in any type of danger, but I think Jason Licht will start looking at his quarterback a little bit differently because it would mean that he would have completed an awful season. But I just don't see it. Like they have something to play for. Miami doesn't. Miami already has shown the propensity to quit. So I think that they're going to just score enough. I think Quinn Ewers will play fine until he won't, until he'll start to press. So I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning 34, Miami Dolphins 24. So I got them winning by 10. I think Ewers plays better. Your thoughts, Marek?
Yeah, and that would be nice to just see a little bit of an improvement. You know, I also picked the Buccaneers to win this game. I think they got a lot of firepower on offense. We talked about those wide receivers, but you know, Bucky Irving is back in the mix as well, and he's been doing well for the Buccaneers. So I will pick the Bucs in this one. I guess maybe I'll give the defense the benefit of the doubt and pick a lower score than you. I'll take the Bucks 27. I'll take the Miami Dolphins 13.
All right. Either way, it's they're getting their ass kicked. That's what we see. All right, that's going to be it. There is no more. Again, we remind you, visit us and join us at our Discord, OnlyFins. You go to discord.gg/OnlyFins and you become a member there. All access for $4.99 a month. Join on a desktop. Avoid the Apple upcharges. All right, that's it. There is no more. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on Monday, and we will have our regular cast here where we will talk about the results of this game, and who knows if it goes bad for Mike McDaniel. Maybe we're talking about a new head coach too. So it's going to be an eventful offseason. It's going to be kicking off with a lot of these results down the pike. But I'll talk to you again on Monday. For Marek Brave. By the way, Marek, on the way out, please tell the people what they can do to, maybe your store, maybe your wrestling school. If somebody wants to, take up wrestling, it's all up, the floor is yours.
Well, yeah, we mention it every time I'm on. I dabble in the sports writing world for the Phinsider, Phinsider. I get my Miami Dolphins takes out there multiple times a week. But my everyday job, I'm a professional wrestling coach. So how many of those have you met in your life? But I'm a professional wrestling coach alongside Seth Rollins of the WWE. We've been friends for many, many decades at this point. We run a wrestling
football
analyst,
Seth Rollins.
Yeah. But we run a wrestling school in Davenport, Iowa called the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, one of 4 WWE ID designated schools in the entire world, and one of those happens to be in my city of Davenport, Iowa. So you can check us out, blackandbravewrestling.com. You can find me on social media at mbrave13. Thank you so much for having me, Alf.
All right. Talk to you guys on Monday.